Hi everybody, welcome back to All Talk Scottish Premiership. Hope you've been keeping well. Obviously a wee Friday night episode for you to start your weekend. Massive shout out to our sponsors, VSN, been keeping us going. We're getting new sort of shirts coming as well, so we'll be wearing them in the coming weeks. Joined again by Brooklyn, who was unable to attend last week. How you doing, mate?
I'm very good, mate. Thank you. It seems as if every single week it went from wearing different football tops to just being in a completely different location. I think I've been in my room twice the full time we recorded this, and this is episode 8 or 9. So I just keep finding random places. I might just keep that going, just random places to sit, mate, and just for anyone watching or listening, especially for the listeners, it makes no difference to them, but for the watchers, they'll definitely be confused.
Every 6 episodes, I'll have a new hairstyle as well, and people are maybe wondering what I'm wearing the old Scotland retro top. I got this when we got to the Euros during COVID, so it's very reminiscent feeling it gives me. But just speaking about the listeners and watchers, there, a big thank you to everybody that keeps watching and listening and sharing. We get quite a lot of listeners, so I'm assuming that's people maybe driving about, going to work, or just in the car listening to us on Spotify. And obviously we get quite a good amount of views for a new show on YouTube as well. So Pyramid Promotions on YouTube and Pyramid Promotions on Spotify, and you'll find us under the All Talk Scottish Premiership category. We're going to start off with how we always start off with going over what we predicted. Obviously, Brooklyn wasn't here last week and didn't get the option to change some of his predictions. I did change some of them. In fact, I changed two of them, and only one of them paid off, but it did get me 2 points. So Brooklyn's on 9 points, I'm on 7. Do you remember your predictions at all? Do you want me to go over them?
I mean, if you want to go over them, and especially the one that you've got the correct score, you may as well brag a little bit about that.
So for Dundee United Celtic, you said 3-1, and we'll get into the games obviously, but just briefly, it looked like Dundee United could have went 1-0 up until all the tangerines get thrown onto the pitch. It was a great break of play there by the Celtic fans. Really stopped momentum. So you said 3-1, I said 3-0, and it was 5-0, which meant Celtic were crowned champions. So no points for us there. You said 2-1 Hibs, and I said 2 each. And then last week, sitting talking to myself for half an hour, I managed to convince myself to put it to 3-1 Hibs, and then they suffered their first defeat in 16 games. Aberdeen winning 1-0 with some goal by Nisbet, to be fair. And then the game that did and didn't shock me, because we both kind of backed Dundee a wee bit, but we both went 2-1 Hearts. I changed this as well to 1 each, and then Dundee got a 1-0 victory over Hearts, which obviously we'll get into later as well. Seen Neil Critchley get the sack. Kelly, I'm always going to back Derek McInnes, and my God, I will back him for the Hearts job. But we've also backed Kelly to drop into the playoff spot. But you said Kelly would draw 2 each with Ross County, and I said Ross County would win 1-0, and Kelly actually won 2-0, so no points there. The Motherwell game, you said 3-0 Motherwell. They did score 3 goals, and I said 2-1 Motherwell, and it ended 3-2. So we both get a point, which puts you to 10 points and me to 8. And then the big one. I said 2-0 to St Mirren, and you said 3-1 to Rangers, because you thought there's no way the team going 2 goals up can keep getting a result. I then changed it to 2-2, which it ended 2-2. So that keeps you on 9, and it moves me up to 9 because you get 2 points for the correct result. So going into the final weekend of the season, we are level on points there. So,
Mate, you said that literally 2 seconds ago after the Motherwell game. You said I was on 10 points. There's some dodgy match fixing going on here.
There is dodgy maths. So you're on 10. Oh, fuck, I'm a point behind you.
Even better.
That makes it better.
Helicopter Sunday.
But what I do is, you obviously do it as well, maybe, but I've already wrote down my predictions for this weekend, because I don't want like you to say yours and then I end up changing mine. So I do already have mine written down. I will actually show it there just in case nobody believes me. So, but I will go into. Well, the first thing we'll go into, we need to talk about it. Celtic being crowned champions again, their 55th title. joint level with Rangers on league titles, and it's their 4th league title in a row. What's your thoughts on it, man? I know you were probably hurting, but we've seen it coming. Really, you genuinely probably have, and this isn't like trying to like annoy him. You probably have seen it coming since genuinely like October, November.
Do you know? I want to ask you a question first about Celtic before I even answer anything.
Okay.
The discourse around Celtic, obviously the way Rodgers left in the first place, it left a lot of kind of bad taste in a lot of Celtic fans' mouths. A lot of them didn't want him back, came back, and is obviously about to potentially and more than likely deliver yet another treble. Probably, I mean, I'm not very clued up in my Celtic manager history, but I would imagine he's probably one of the top 3 most successful managers in the club's history.
Yeah.
Why do so many Celtic fans seem to rate or rank Ange ahead of him in
So, yeah.
so many different ways? Because so Ange, right? So as a Rangers fan, I think I was more scared coming up against an Ange team than a Rodgers team. I know obviously Rodgers was dismantling us kind of 5-6-1s, but as a kind of realistic fan during that time period, I looked at our squad and I looked at what yourself. I mean, he's brought in. Obviously, he's had Encham at that point, Edward, Sinclair, Tierney. The list could go on. And I looked at what we had, and it seemed realistic that we were going to get better every Old Firm. But like Ange actually scared me to play. Like as a Rangers team, I just because he had that pattern of play nailed down. So I don't know if maybe I've kind of answered my own question and it's maybe the style of play, but I look at Rodgers' kind of record as far as trophies, especially trebles, and I think it's hard to. Surely he's got to be above Ange as a Celtic fan, no?
I think so. Successful managers, I believe the two other managers that are more successful than them is Willie Maley and also Jock Stein. I could be wrong, but I'm sure that's the case. What I think is, though, I mentioned last week about that post that came out about like the tedious treble, and I don't think Celtic fans are. I don't believe Celtic fans are taking trebles for granted. But obviously, you had the invincible treble, then you had the first double, then you had the first treble, then you had the first quadruple, which Neil Lennon was a part pretty much got,
Mm.
and then you had Ange coming from nothing and Rangers stopping the 10, but then him winning a double, but Rangers getting to European final to then in his second season getting a treble. Whereas if you went like that to me, what's this treble for Celtic? It's not me not appreciating a treble, but I would just go, oh, it's a treble. Like there's no so my thing is right. So Celtic put out a post saying 5 games that won us the league, right? One of them games out of the 5 was a Celtic Rangers game. So for me, I think a lot of Celtic, and I've seen Neil Lennon say, he said there would be Celtic fans out there that wouldn't mind losing the league as long as they beat their rivals 4 times, which I don't agree with. I don't want to get beat. Like, see this weekend, right? No game is a dead rubber, but there is a dead rubber feel about it. We're not going to hide that, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, see, to be honest, right, I get upset as Celtic fans, I get angry. But see, when Igaman scored against Celtic, right, and made it 3-2, I was obviously fuming, but in the pub, or I didn't even go to the pub actually after the game, so that was a lie there. But after the game, an hour later, I was just like, nah, we've won the league. Do you know?
Aye.
But I know that people might go, that's a shocking attitude, but that is just the way it kind of felt. It is like, trust me, if Celtic win a treble, I will be celebrating long into the night. I don't think it's a tedious treble. But to actually answer your question, I just think my generation, born in 2000, I was too young to experience Martin O'Neill. But very rarely have I heard a bad word about Martin O'Neill. And I wonder if Ange was our Martin O'Neill. He just made everything click.
Mm-hmm.
Martin O'Neill's team was terrifying. You would look at the name on a bit of paper and you'd go, no way I want to go near that team. And I think that with Ange's team, though, I always remember that commentary against, I'm sure it was against Inverness or maybe Rangers, and it was, this is as good as a Celtic team as you will ever see. And it was like, you had a Riley, you had a Bada, you had Kyogo, Maeda, like you had Hatati. Even when Aaron Moy was in there, you had all these players where you just went, we're not getting beat today. And he came from I mean, the fact that Celtic lost one title in 10 years, but Celtic felt like they were at rock bottom. And Ange came into Celtic at rock bottom and took us from zero to hero in 2 seasons. We got a double, then we got a treble. And I just think as well, I know I'm rambling on a bit here, but me and my friends were talking. So I love winning, right? And I hate being scared. Anybody hates being scared, right? But see under Ange, when you were one each on the 89th minute against like a Dundee, but you go and win. A game against Dundee doesn't just become a game against Dundee. It becomes, remember that game we scored? And I don't think we ever did do it against Dundee, to be fair. It was Dundee United, I remember, and Dundee United a few times.
No,
Ross,
you did. There was a game last season. I remember it was a night game, and I think it was free each. And I might be wrong, but I'm certain you were free each away to Dundee, and you
under
scored.
Rodgers,
It was like in 97th minute you scored or something. I think it was Ralston scored with the last kick of the game.
I can't remember it. I can't even mind that.
It might either have been Dundee or Ross County, but I remember Ralston somehow scoring the 97th minute.
But that was Ross County. It was two. It was one each, and Nelson hit under Ange, and that's what I'm saying. Like, obviously, for the 89th minutes, you're scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you do go away from these games that are sort of games that Celtic expect to win being memorable. Whereas, yeah, I like going into half time being 2-0 up. But the problem with Rodgers is a lot of times this year you've went in at half time. So after 20 minutes, it's 2-0 Celtic. After 45 minutes, it's 3-0. But after 90 minutes, it's still 3-0. And I think
Aye,
that's what makes it about Rodgers. He's not. There's a lot of games under him that I do think gets passed by, and it's because he wins that much. So I seen the other day, Celtic beat Rangers 5-0 to win the league one year. But that gets forgotten about because Celtic beat Rangers 5-1 like 3 times and within 3 years of each other. So all
mm-hmm.
these big games for Rodgers, and maybe it is because everybody talks about that night against Real Madrid under Ange for 55 minutes where we're the best team in the world and the game ended 3-0 Real Madrid. But very rarely does somebody go like that for Rodgers. But for 60 minutes against Atletico Madrid, we were unplayable. And he actually got a point out of the game. We actually probably should have beat them. But the fact that a game we get beat 3-0 under Real Madrid is more memorable than some of Brendan Rodgers' actual games that have got us a draw in Europe. I think stuff that I don't get it as well. I do think Ange just had a big feel about him.
Mate, I think
Back,
as a Rangers fan, it's mental to me like the way that you was going about that night against Real Madrid. Like with how successful you have been, I'll never understand why you like cling on to like. And it's not even performances. Well, it's maybe in an essence it is performances in Europe, but it's performances, but it's no results. So like it does seem mental to me with how successful Celtic have been. That is like you're saying, and genuinely there seems to be more discourse. Obviously it depends kind of what circle you're in, who you're talking to, whatever. But you're right. There's more discourse on performances that Angie's team produced than what there is going to be yet another treble. Again, Aberdeen could realistically stop it, and it's a double, which is still impressive. But see, for outside looking in, and I could be wrong, I think if you lose the final to Aberdeen, and it's a big if, I think a lot of the fans will say they want Rodgers out.
I do think that I know some people that have never really forgave him. Look, I was never annoyed. I don't know if I was too young, but it's a job at the end of the day. I'm a Celtic fan, but see if I was a Celtic player and somebody came in and offered me an extra 50 grand to go and work somewhere else, I would go and I would maybe go about it a lot differently. But maybe I was too young to understand that. But I don't know. You don't want to take stuff for granted, but if you were to ask me right now what I want Rodgers to finish his contract, and I mean like finish it. I believe he will get a contract extension, but what I think is going to happen is I seen something saying that Rangers might wait until Celtic have won the league or won the treble to announce the takeover, so it kind of overshadows it. I think whenever Rangers announce the takeover, they'll announce Kieran Tierney, they'll announce the contract extension, they'll announce Greg Taylor's contract, by the way, which I've heard that, you know, I do have a wee source, but I've heard that is happening. But I would just like to see him finish his contract. And look, if after next year Rodgers walks away, maybe not doing a treble, see, even if Rodgers walks away next year getting a league title, and he goes, look, I've told all the Celtic fans I've came here to finish my contract and I'm going to go. I think then Celtic fans always look back and go, wow, what he done was incredible. But I would never ever say get rid of him. Never. Like he is an
Aye.
incredible manager. I would just like to see him, like many other Celtic fans, do it a bit more in Europe. Obviously, we did it in some games, and you can't take Europe for granted. Look at Club Brugge. Everybody thought that would be a guaranteed win. Club Brugge probably gave Celtic the toughest game out of the home games that I've seen. You know, at Celtic Park, and I even thought, look, that this is going to be where somebody goes, no way, he's just said Club Brugge are better than Bayern Munich, right? But sometimes Bruges worried me more on the attack than what Bayern Munich did. I thought Bayern Munich at Celtic Park were very slow. And yes, they are frightening. Like, yes, they can just out of nowhere bang your 4-0 down. But as watching the game as a spectator, Bruges worried me more. Like, oh, they're going to punish us here. So you can't take Europe for granted, but I think definitely progressing. If he gets Celtic into where he got them this year, and they don't get a Bayern Munich, but they maybe get a team a bit lesser than them with a better chance of getting through. I think that would be something that will make it. Like I would put him above Rodgers, above Ange, definitely. But I don't really. There's multiple reasons why Celtic fans might put Ange above them, but I think it's a bit crazy. I think, you know, Rodgers deserves to be sort of above Ange and like sort of a pedigree
Mhm.
for managers. But obviously, we never spoke much about the game there, but there's not really much to talk about because Celtic, you know, they just turned it on, and that I made that joke at the start. But Dundee United were looking the better team, and then due to the ticket prices, there was a few protests, which is an interesting one. And I honestly made the joke on the day, but I think that did kind of stop Dundee United's momentum because after that, like Celtic just kind of took over, and before you know it, they're 3-0 up.
Aye. I think with the protests as well, I think it's definitely a good thing. Uh, Mate, regardless of whether they bumped the price up because they were giving out extra allowances or because you know it's a title part, whatever it may be, you cannot justify 60 quid or 50 or whatever it was, 56 quid. You cannot justify charging fans that. Like, because the thing is as well, from a business point of view, it was smart because they knew fans were going to pay it. They knew it was going to sell out. But what the issue is there's got to be a balance and there's got to be some restriction or cap where you can't have people paying that sort of money for football games because then where does it stop? Is it just
But
going
it's
to
not the
be
fans' fault as well. Like, just because
no,
Celtic
mate?
have a lot of money doesn't mean like it's as if Dundee United thought, oh, Celtic are coming to town, their fans are absolutely loaded. That's what their thought process seems to be.
But I think, mate, I think it's more even naive than that. I think it's just they're looking at it and going, I, I actually think they don't care about the fans. All they know is the fact that people are going to pay it. They know that, for example, you or I might be able to go ahead if our team are winning the league and go, do you know what? It's worth the 60 quid and then the travel, whatever it may be. You go, do you know what? It's maybe worth it. But there's also someone that's maybe a bit younger or a bit older or whatever it may be with certain circumstances that they manage to go to most games, but then they can't for that 1 month, that one game, they probably can't afford to just go. Like, say they've got their kid's birthday or their parents' birthdays, like, you can't just go ahead and go, aye, you got a spare essentially 100 odd quid to travel up to Dundee, including your ticket, your travel, whatever it may be. Um, but I think Scotland's really, really bad for that, mate. Like, see, you go on like a bigger rant. Like, see, like,
I'm only
Scotland,
laughing because what you said there rhymed and you never realised it, but continue.
mate. But like, ScotRail are bad for that as well. Like, you've seen them at a concerts or whatever, like a transmit, mate. They just cancel trains left, right, and centre, or they'll run an extra train if there's a rugby game on, or the prices will increase because there's an event on, and that's the way that football's going, and it's dangerous because all that that's doing is then going, where does it stop?
So so what do you think happens do you think Celtic should have come out and went like that? Look, I know it's tough because then Celtic fans, mate, I turned on Celtic. But should Celtic have come out and said, we will not allow our fans to go to this game if you're going to make them pay that? Because yes, Celtic fans, mate, I went, okay, I want to go see my team win the league. But then at the same time, that would have been sort of pie back in the face of Dundee United being like, well, if you're trying to mug us off, we're going to mug you off and you're not going to get any of our fans' money.
You know, I know. I think, see if it was any other, see if it was a game for the run-in, say like, say there was only maybe kind of, the league hadn't been decided yet, say that wasn't the title party, you could maybe try that and basically, like you're saying, slap Dundee United in the face. But I think because it was a title celebration, the majority of the fans wouldn't have seen the bigger picture. They would have just seen the board as going, "Oh well, the fucking you've ruined our party," sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think that there does need to be a statement. But I think not just from Celtic. I think, and you won't see it from the lower teams. And the problem is you'll never see Rangers and Celtic as a collective come together, or at least not publicly. But there does need to be something said to the SFA and the SFA to basically say like that can't happen, because again they done it for the title party, but you've seen obviously if Rangers are Celtic, or to be fair, even Hearts or the Hibs. I mean, actually, the majority of teams in Scotland bring a good away support. You always see that because you'll always have that kind of 500 to 800 fans that are diehard fans that will follow their club everywhere. So then where do you draw the line? Because then the clubs just start charging each other. Like I said, basically try to pay, like, essentially what happened with the old firm allocation. Is it just a tit for tat where it becomes, say I don't know, like a St Mirren Dundee or something, and St Mirren say we're going to charge the Dundee fans 50 quid today. You know, if it's the teams kind of lower down the league, all that's going to happen is then when the reverse fixture comes about, Dundee are going to say, well, you charged our fans 50, we're going to charge you, and it's just a back and forth where then football's not accessible, and maybe that's a massive tangent, and it's a lot of what ifs, but I think if it just goes unnoticed, and like I said, Celtic fans will give them credit by doing some form of protest that was what is that, like, non-aggressive sort of thing, like kind of peaceful protest. Uh, what it does is it does make the SFA and it does bring media attention, which is what was needed, because if it wasn't for the protest, I probably wouldn't have even have known that the prices were
Yeah.
getting charged. But because of that, then obviously it's brought all the kind of media coverage and the people talking about it. So, I think it was what was needed, and I think it needs to continue to get spoken about to ensure it doesn't keep happening.
Well, football in general is becoming expensive. Like, I'm pretty sure that like a Celtic season ticket, I'm pretty sure if you work that out, it means like if you were paying for a single ticket for a game, it was like £37. So
Mhm.
if you're the whole sort of football world has gone daft with sort of prices, but it wasn't really fair by Dundee United, and I'm not just saying that like because of the team I support. I think when it comes to people having to pay money, I will back end in that because some people don't earn a lot of money, and even people who earn a lot of money, it doesn't mean they should pay more than what they should have to
Uh,
pay. It was very poor from Dundee United, and I don't want it to be tit for tat. I don't want Dundee United to go to Celtic Park and Celtic go, well, here you go then, there's 48 quid for the ticket. As you said there, I don't want that to happen. I want there to be a sort of fixed price on tickets for all teams, and Dundee United done a good thing where it was like bring your pal for a tenner, but that was only because they were charging Celtic fans that much, which actually allowed them to do
aye.
that. But I definitely uh, would like to see something done there.
Well,
With
that's the thing. See, the English Premier League is the richest league in the world, and the the greediest owners, the greediest clubs, whatever. Even in the Premier League, there's a cap for away tickets. I think it's £35, and obviously they've got more money, so maybe Scotland can't do. Maybe it's £40, which doesn't seem like a lot, but to the clubs, an extra £5 per person. For times in that by however many fans, it probably equates quite well for the club over the season. But I think that's what needs to get put in place, and there's no real reason that I can think of that the SFA can't install that going into the start of next season.
Yeah, I agree.
So
It's they waste. It is just a money game to them, and they waste too much time talking about other absolute nonsense. And with this new league thing as well, I feel like the ticket prices might take a back seat until until they work out what they're going to do with that. Because obviously, since that came out, there was nothing really else has been said on it. Probably because of the backlash it actually received. But it'll be an interesting one to kind of see what happens with that. And obviously, I know you're not going to say it, but we have to say congratulations to Celtic on winning the league. Obviously, it was a fine performance, and that's what I said. That's what I asked for. I said Celtic know they've won the league, but you want some big performances going into the last couple of games, and obviously they've got a big game this Sunday. So Celtic are going into the game on Sunday, with a 5-0 victory and confirmed champions, whereas Rangers are going into it with more points dropped. They were away to St Mirren and they drew 2-1 after going 1-0 up. And then
drew 2-1.
drew 2, sorry. After going 1-0 up, 1 each, and then going 2-1 up to 2 each. So they didn't go 2-0 down and bring it back, but more dropped points, and that's 17 points behind. I know the league is done, but a bit of sort of respect for themselves. If they get beat on Sunday, that will be 20 points, and that could possibly grow by the end of the season. But what did you make of the game?
Man, it's just that point where you're just tired. You're just so tired, mate, about watching them.
You see the main talking point from it, Liam Kelly saying that the players aren't listening to instructions. I know that would maybe be a bit more worrying if you're going into next season going, Barry Ferguson's our manager and players aren't listening to him. So it's maybe not as worrying as what people might make it out to be. But does that not worry you about the players that are at the club? They're not
Mate, do you
listening.
know?
They're not listening to a legend of the club. Does that not worry you?
Mate, I think it is damning, to be honest, mate, because when when Clement was obviously going through the tough period, and a lot of people were saying that he was just getting it tactically wrong. It was it. A lot of people were saying there was maybe a couple of players not performing, but the the most of it was on the manager, and the majority of it, like I said, was people saying that he's too defensive. Rangers should never be playing with two holding midfielders. Blah 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 blah. The list can go on. The argument was always for what obviously I like to call them Rangers Daz or Celtic Daz or whatever. Was they need someone that knows the club. They need that. They need a Souness in. They need a Barry Ferguson in. They need a McCoy. They need someone that knows the club inside and out. Well, we've done that now. We're
See, to be
appointed.
fair, but has that where Rangers have went wrong in the past? So Celtic have always had a James Forrest, and look, I'm not saying they've kept these players for that. James Forrest, there's a reason not a single manager has got rid of him. He's a good player, but then they've kept their McGregors. Then they've had, I know he is Rangers, or he's maybe known as a Rangers fan, like his family. But then you've got like a Greg Taylor who comes in, who's Scottish, knows what it means it is to play for Celtic. People will laugh at this, but you do have a Scott Bain. You've got an Anthony Ralston. You're bringing back a Tierney. Celtic have got all these players that when it comes down to it, some of them might not be Celtic fans, but they know what it means to play for Celtic. Do you think Rangers have missed a trick with that?
I think yes and no. I think we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, where I basically said that the Rangers teams I grew up on were players that we signed majority for the league. Boyd, Whittaker, Bagheera, uh,
Naismith.
Neil Alexander, Nate. Do you know what I mean? The list can go on and on. I think there's a healthy balance. So I do understand it to a sense of getting people that know the club and everything. And I think there's certain times I agree with and certain times I don't. So, for example, when Dessler scores to put us 1 up against St Mirren, he does some stupid. He celebrates basically. He's a striker who scored. He celebrates, but you're also kind in the back of your mind like, mate, well, obviously at that time we were what technically 13, 14 points behind, whatever it may be.
But
That, mate, like,
could you not look at that in the sense where imagine he didn't do anything, and then you would get Rangers fans going, "Why are you not celebrating? You don't know what it means to put on the
mate,
Rangers
see,
sport and that." Like you're going to
but,
have people, like you're going to
but
have.
this is what I mean, mate. Like, the problem is, like, you have that kind of armchair fan that will always, there's always going to be an argument to both sides. Um, so obviously, see how divided the fan base is on the likes of Tavernier. So the problem is you've got a captain in Tavernier that's been here for, I think, coming up for 10 seasons. I think going into next year, if he stays over the summer, that'll be him 10 years. You aren't really going to, like, 10 years, whether people like it or not, he does know what the club means. Whether people are happy in the way he shows it, whatever it may be. But if we're going to say, obviously, Celtic have kept players that have came through, are loyal to the club, that have been there for a long period of time, Rangers do have a few of those. And again, they brought in the coaching staff, Al McGregor, Billy Dodds, Barry Ferguson, and Neil McCann. So you brought in a bunch of people that are meant to, quote unquote, know the club, know what it means, whatever it may be. I think when Kelly and Barry Ferguson came out and said, "Oh no, listen to him," I don't think it's this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, or I don't think it's necessarily even intentional. I think it's just the worst part is that there's certain players in that squad that just can't do what they're being asked of. Like, you heard Robin Proper at the start of the season, and I think he really did put a rod for his own back here when he said that the league was too physical for him, and he didn't expect it. I thought that was mental when he came out and said that. That was no long after the season had started. We're not in a situation we are now where the league's all wrapped up. There was still a lot to play for.
Aye.
And your main centre back that was the captain at FC20 that you paid money for is coming in and saying he's a shite bag. Mate,
So,
fucking mental.
see this like whole build the team around Tim, build the team around Tim. Why not just build a team? But why just not? Why just stop picking one player? Just build a team. And see, to be honest, do Rangers just go, do you know what? You're gone, and do a massive clear out. Take the risk of maybe Aberdeen or Hibs challenging for second place, because Aberdeen and Hibs aren't going to keep it up. But just take the risk of for the next season or for the next 2 seasons being like, we are not going to win this league. But I tell you what, seeing 3 and 4 years' time, we're going to be near Celtic, because we've not just bought a player for 5 million and went, he's garbage, you're sitting on the bench the rest of the season and you're going next year. Just build a team, stop building it around 1 or 2 players, because it's not working. Because one week it's Diamande, it's getting built around, the next week it's Raskin, the next week it's this guy. It's just there's about 8 or 9 players that just simply aren't good enough, and that's not even involving the bench. I'm talking about the first team for Rangers. And you can have all these kind of European ones and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, like, what do you look back on? We got to the quarterfinals of Europa League. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Bodo Glimt have got to the semi-final. Like, it doesn't matter if you've got to the quarter-final. I
Mate,
just
I
think
think,
Rangers need to. And look, we're talking about Rangers, but fair play to St Mirren, because that's been in the past 3 games, playing at home and then playing away to Ibrox and then playing at home again. Rangers haven't beaten them. And obviously, I backed St Mirren to get into top 6, and we'll go on to it later on. But is Stephen Robinson maybe in for a shout with the Hearts job? Would they take the Hearts job?
I think it would. I think it's whether again people like to admit it or not, I'd say he's got to be in contention. But again, our hearts, like we said in the last episode, our hearts going to maybe continue to go down the route of kind of data analysis. And if they do, they tend to, if you look at kind of Brighton, they bring in managers from overseas. They never look to a point kind of from
I
within
think
the
getting
league.
young managers in the league would be good. Do you know what I mean? See young, different managers like Jimmy Tilley. I know
Aye,
he's not young, but he's like a foreign sort of newish manager, and that's what you're saying with Brighton there. Like their manager's 34 or something. I think younger than some of the players.
aye,
Manager.
because it was that whole thing where like he wasn't even like I think James Milner's obviously a good couple of years older than him, and a couple of
Yeah.
other ones like Danny Welbeck. But aye, I think he deserves to be in contention. He probably actually just deserves the job outright, but I don't think he'll get it. I think that, as I say, his Hearts will continue to go down the route of kind of data analysis, because what they run the risk of is obviously it's senior ownerships came in. If they instantly change their ways, then they're admitting that they're wrong, and that just then causes more cause for concern later down the line. The minute that one bad transfer happens or one bad result happens, so I think they'll probably be stubborn and they'll stick. I mean, I think they shouldn't have sacked Critchley in the first place.
Nah.
I think it's mental, but again, it shows how, like we were saying, how harsh football is and how it's a business. But then again, it seemed as if it was
They
more
get
the
a nice
Hearts
wee,
fans
they get a nice wee pay up anyway, I tell you that. But
might
no,
want to
St
have.
Mirren, I know we went on about Rangers there, but St Mirren obviously massive for them, and I backed them to get into the top six. They can't finish any higher. And they obviously now can't finish any lower, even if Motherwell ended up on more points than them. But they done me a solid, keeping me in the race for this wee leaderboard we've got. But well done to St Mirren and Rangers. Obviously, we'll probably go out and win 4-0 on Sunday, knowing how Rangers are. But uh, we'll go on to that at the end. But we're going to do a wee double whammy here. We're going to talk about the two Edinburgh teams at the kind of same time, which might mess with everybody's head, but I like a little bit of confusion. But both teams lost 1-0 at the weekend. Hibs away to Aberdeen, losing after their 16th or 17th unbeaten run. Hearts getting beat 1-0 at home to Dundee. What do you make of the contrast in the two teams? Obviously, they were both in very similar positions when Critchley came in. Hibs backed David Gray for a poor start to the season. But I seen somewhere as well that see if for the minute Critchley came in, he's actually fourth. It would be fourth in the league table and fourth in the forum table. So should Hearts have stuck with them like Hibs did with David Gray? Would Hibs be where they are now if they never stuck with him?
I wonder, but if, although I just said obviously it's a kind of business thing, it did seem as if a lot of the Hearts fans weren't happy with Critchley. So I do wonder if the boards maybe, in a sense, crumbled under pressure.
Well,
But
it's majority fan don't it, Hibs.
aye, so
So that
Hearts,
would probably have Hearts. Sorry, Hearts.
that'll be
Yeah,
you getting abused for the next couple of days. Um,
fuck 'em. Turn on.
mate, I swear to God, every single week you just piss off someone for Edinburgh. I think it's every week,
I
mate.
like
You
it. I
just,
like Edinburgh, no, baby. It's a good day, but I tell you what, when I go there, I'll be keeping quiet. But
mate, I'll bet
I
just one of those disguises. But aye, I think it's the chances, right? Any team in Europe, never mind in Scotland, going a 16 game unbeaten run that isn't one of the arguably two main clubs. So in the Premier League, right, you'd maybe you could envision a Liverpool or a City doing it any given season, no one else. In the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich, up until you don't imagine a Leverkusen. That was once in a blue moon. So you only think of Bayern Munich. You never hear a Real Madrid or a Barcelona doing it. In Italy, it's very, very rare. I couldn't really, maybe Juventus when they were kind of winning Scudetto after Scudetto. But so that kind of puts in perspective just how ridiculous that Hibs run is. Within that time, they played Rangers definitely once, maybe twice. They played Celtic. Um, they played every single team and
yeah.
went unbeaten. So the amount of fans that are comparing the two, I just don't think it's possible because you're comparing someone that came in, steadied the ship, and done a good job. I mean, Hearts were bottom of the table when he came in. He dragged them.
I liked them. I don't know why. I thought like it gave Hearts sort of a style of playing. It's maybe not something he would have wanted to play like because he never, I've never been a manager and definitely never been a manager that had a January transfer window. But I don't believe a January transfer window is easy to get a lot of players in. But I'm just like they've possibly caved under the pressure, but should I just give them the summer? But then see at that point, like it is a long summer, and they might bring in somebody better. But I think he did a good job. Um, they're not they need to be realistic here. They're not going to get relegated. They're just not going to get relegated. So if that was a worry for them, I think they've jumped too quickly as well. But then credit to Dundee, big Simon Murray, man. He's still going for the top goal scorer. But do you think like that's like? Do you think he'll get a move, or do you think that's him just kind of? I think he's like 33. He's already been at Hibs. It was at Hibs years ago. He's obviously been.
Mate, I don't think it has been in a sense kind of journeyman. I don't see him moving maybe back to Ross County at some point or another just to end his career, just to see it out. But I think that's probably him. Just because it's again he is 33 and he has scored goals kind of wherever he's went, but he's not had a season like this really. So he's no got. It's like when Rangers brought in Jermaine Defoe, track record. Hibs bringing in Dwight Gale, track record. Simon Murray doesn't really have that. So he's having an incredible season. He has had a good career, but you'd be taking a massive gamble. And I think he'll just stay put. And he seems to be enjoying his football. And I think that's the main thing as well. Because you find that it's like you listen to like Tony Watt speaking, and he's had 15, 16 clubs, whatever it might have been. But you can always tell, you can hear when people like that have travelled find a club that suits them or finds a good dressing room. It's quite hard for them to move on after that. So I think he'll stay put. And I think, I mean, I don't see him going anywhere, to be honest, mate.
Well, it was a big win because obviously, we're going to bring Kelly and Ross County into the mix there because it was quite a, that's kind of 4 teams that are all in the bottom half. So that result for Dundee puts them above Ross County now. So Ross County are second bottom on 35 points, Dundee on 37. And that win for Kelly puts them on 38. Kelly, who we said would actually drop down there, but obviously literally still 3 games left or something like that. So it genuinely could all change. But Ross County, who actually, I don't know, I just thought they would get a result, but to be honest, I'm backing them to get a wee result against Hearts, and I'm sitting going like that. All Hearts have got nothing to worry about, but they maybe do if Ross County go and beat them. But I just think Hearts are safe. Dundee, they've got a home game next week. I think if they get a point or a win for that, they're kind of sorted as well. And St Johnstone, they lost 3-2 to Motherwell, which was some game to be fair. See, when I seen St Johnstone was 1-0 up, I was like, this could be a great wee relegation battle. But Motherwell got that win, and Motherwell have got to be safe. They're 2 points ahead of. My brain's can't work here because it says they're actually first, but I know it's just 1 to 6. They're 2 points ahead at 8th, and they're 4 points clear of Kelly. So Motherwell have got to be safe. They don't really have anything to worry about. But big win for them. Just kind of. It'll be. I like what they've done. They've brought their manager in a little bit later than what Neil Crouchley came into Hearts, and they're keeping him in until he's going to get a full summer with them and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what Motherwell are like next year.
I think that's it. I think we've spoke about before. Obviously, we do the predictions at the end of the episodes, but it is so difficult, mate, to predict this league at any given time. Like, it's like you're saying, a couple of months ago, even before we started this, there's obviously a lot of kind of opinions just all over kind of social media about who was getting relegated, who was doing this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, just before Christmas, mate, you were looking at Aberdeen. Everyone was convinced Aberdeen were going to finish second, and Hearts and Hibs were going to be in the relegation battle.
Yeah.
So it's been a mental season, and to be honest, mate, I'm just glad it's come to an end.
Do you know what? Surprisingly, like I think everybody does get burnt out a wee bit by this point, and obviously we've not even spoke about. Did you see Nisbet's goal?
Do you know, mate, I actually never, because I was away, I didn't really
I went
catch
holiday.
the highlights for it, but
Is there no an Aberdeen bar and wherever you were in Spain? No.
in Malaga, mate, as far as I'm
But
aware, there is not an Aber. But did they celebrate? That's what I'm curious
he
about.
did. He did, which
I
made
love
me.
it.
Which I love.
I love it.
See, to be fair, like that, like see if Hibs try and maybe go for like a Sam Dalby or something. By the way, I think they could be really dangerous next year because Martin Boyle's potentially leaving. They've got that big Ukrainian up top, but that's a big, strong striker. Man, he's about 6'8", but
I think Triantis moved to Championship. That's my bold prediction.
I think he goes to Rangers or Celtic.
I think he goes to Championship.
I think,
English Championship.
do you know what? Actually, I think Triantis will go to Rangers and Lennon Miller will go to Celtic. That's what I think.
I mean, I'd much prefer Miller, but I would not mind Triantis, mate, if I'm being honest.
I like
Um,
Triantis. On the Twitter, he's my very first one to watch, and he actually got an assist against Celtic that day. So I kind of
I'll be honest, mate. I'm looking forward to. I know obviously we've still got a couple of weeks left and a few more episodes, but I'm looking forward to the predictions that we can do throughout the summer because it'll be interesting to do them kind of maybe halfway through or just when the transfer window opens, and then at the end we can reassess once obviously all the in and outs have happened. Because it's like see as well, mate. See the way Scottish football is now. I would not be surprised if a manager gets sacked during the summer. A manager will either get sacked or he'll walk, mate. For one of the Premier League clubs, I think that'll happen over the summer.
I think you could maybe see like I don't know, like you could maybe see a few. See, to be honest, it also depends who comes up as well. Obviously, Falkirk potentially bottling that league, so that will be great this weekend to see them and Livy on the same amount of points.
That might be the biggest bottle job that I've ever seen.
I'd like Falkirk to come up, Bucks. It's someone different. And see, to be honest, whoever comes second bottom, I would like them to go down as well. I would like to see two new. I don't know if
Aye.
it's been a while since two new teams have come up, but I'd like to see Falkirk up, man. But that's what I'm saying. See if Falkirk don't come up right, you might see that John McGlynn get going back to Hearts. He's managed them before.
Mm-hmm.
Or you might see something like the main man that always back to get a job, but you might see like a Derek McInnes going to Hearts and then like a John McGlynn going to Killie or a triangle, McInnes going to Hearts, Stevie
Aye,
Nicks
like a
Killie.
dominoes effect.
Like
Aye,
you might see a lot of stuff like that, but I think Falkirk will do it. Hamilton, I know they're relegated due to the 15 points thing, but realistically they should be beating Hamilton anyway. I think it'll be one of them ones, right, where it's pure anticipated like title race, like final day of the season, and see by 30 minutes Falkirk will be 4-0 up. That's what I think it will be.
See, I'll put you in a spot just because I don't even I couldn't answer this, so if you can. When was the last time Falkirk were in the top flight? Must have been. I don't even think they're in the top flight when Rangers went down. That's
No,
kind of how I base my timelines off. So it must have been about 2009, 2010.
I
Been as long
definitely
as that.
say early 2000s, like between 2000 and 2010.
I think it was at late. Like early 20. It must have been like late 2000s, early 2010s.
They know AstroTurf,
What?
are they not AstroTurf as well? And I'm pretty sure AstroTurf's banned next year.
No, Livy are AstroTurf. Oh wait, no. No, you might be right. I think Falkirk are as well.
So, I think it's maybe one of the things where they don't want to come up because the money they'll need to spend for the pitch. I think that because you need to remember these people who probably own these clubs are businessmen. They might not be.
I think, but see, probably the bigger clubs in the Championship, you would imagine that a lot of these clubs started to prepare for that when it got announced last year.
I know.
They probably started to budget it a little bit, and that's maybe why you've seen them spend less last summer, less in January, and then they'll probably not spend as much. But then that's maybe creating a bigger gap, and that's could be a whole episode in itself. Is the fact that the minute you're not allowing these clubs that are getting promoted to spend money on transfers to fix a park, you could find that because they're not getting these transfers, all that's going to happen is going to go back down. But now they've got a pitch that they don't want. I mean, I say that could be a whole episode in itself discussing that, but I think you're right. I think Falkirk will probably, you'll find that, like saying, there'll be a good bit of anticipation. Everything could even find that Livy get an early goal. Livy could go 1-0 in the first 5-10 minutes. Everyone's like, oh, that's it, and then Falkirk will Arfield will score 2 or something, and
Arfield's bound to score. He's bound to.
Aye.
100 men versus one gorilla. Who wins?
Mate, the gorilla. What the fucking shadow of a... Mate, it's the most ridiculous conversation. How people think...
A gorilla would tire.
Mate, it does not matter.
A gorilla not get exhausted quite quickly. I feel like a gorilla would maybe lose breath.
I'll be honest, mate. I don't know an awful lot about gorillas, but I would imagine that once that thing's seen red and fucked up the first 10, 15 people, it's just going to continue to see red and just tear through them. If you're telling me, the fact, right, a guy or woman, whoever it may be, or child, any single human can get knocked out, mate, by one punch, just depending where it is. You're not doing that, a gorilla. If a
You really
gorilla,
you need a busy bee. So you need the I would think tactically you need the first 10 to go for it. Then you need the next 5 or 6 to sort of run it around, get it on its toes, take the hit. Then from like 15 to 35, you need a bit of both. You need a bit of moving around, a bit of going for it. That gorilla's going to tire, man. I'm backing the men.
mate,
I reckon by the 65th to the 85th, that gorilla's gone, man. Surely.
he's
No
not a
way.
fucking mate. He's not a 30-year-old striker. He doesn't tire at the 78th minute.
I guarantee you, if gorillas will tire, I think for the size of them up here, I will fucking fact check this. I guarantee you, gorillas will
Mate,
tire.
you're actually treating that gorilla like Kevin Kyle at Rangers, as if, mate, the cunt can't run the length for himself and he's getting subbed off after the first 40 minutes after being knackered. The gorilla,
Professor Stacey Rosenbaum from the University of Michigan agreed with Stoinski, adding that gorillas weren't endurance fighters and would tire quickly.
do you know what's terrifying, right? The
God.
fact that it's all well and good us doing a football podcast talking about this. Why is there people that are actually at university that are professors that are doing reports about this?
That was just Googled 10 seconds ago, by the way, so that's fucking unreal for me. Unreal knowledge. I know my animals.
I'll tell you as well, by the way. It's
Yep.
I seen something a while ago and it's true. See, if you're not on like X or Twitter, whatever you call it, or TikTok for like a day, mate, you're so out of the loop. Like,
I know.
mate,
I
see if
know
I
people
wasn't.
listening to this will be like, what the fuck? How they went from Derek McInnes getting the Hearts job, Stephen Robinson getting the Killing job, fucking John McGlynn to this, but you need to stay relevant in life, man. You need to stay relevant. But I'm going to back the fucking men. I mean, I'll admit, a gorilla could absolutely not fuck out of me, obviously, but I just, that proves it there, man. I don't know how I knew that. Maybe, David Attenborough probably filled me in on that, but I was just thinking there's no way a gorilla can just go. Like, I feel like a bear definitely could. A bear 100% is getting better endurance than a gorilla.
Mate, bears that are notorious for hibernating for weeks on end.
Aye, but a bear could beat a
I,
gorilla.
I,
A bear could beat a gorilla. 100%, especially if it's after a Rangers defeat, man. Fuck
mate.
me. Right, we're getting into this weekend's games. Come on, I'm feeling good about
The Union Bears versus the Green Gorillas. We're finally onto something.
I would get fucking 2 points in that prediction.
Aye, mate. That's a
Probably
perfect segue onto the Old Firm.
that'll be our most like fucking fucking wee bit on this show so far. So Old Firm Sunday. We're not going to eat too much because the last time we went to eat too much, I get fucking embarrassed. But it'll be good. It'll be good to not go into too much detail about it. And then next week when we're back, we can spend 40 minutes talking about it. But it's not. I wouldn't class it as a dead rubber. I would but it is one of the ones. Rangers could win 3-0 and you'll walk away and you'll go to the pub because you're off on Monday and you'll wake up rough and be like, oh, that happened. Celtic could win 3-0, go to the pub, wake up Monday, you'll be rough and you'll be like, oh, that's happened. But it still means a lot to a lot of people. And that's what I don't want to hear. I don't want any manager coming out after the game, whether it's a draw or a defeat for their team, going, oh, well, at the end of the day, Celtic are still champions. At the end of the day, we've still won the league. I don't want any excuses that it means nothing, because it means a lot to a lot of people. People pay this money. People in other countries wake up early. So none of that nonsense. It's a dead rubber game. This means a lot to people. This is people's weeks. People have woke up on Monday ready for this. They'll wake up the following Monday thinking about it for the next week. So I'm looking forward to it, especially being off on the Monday. I will be taking it easy, but I
Must be
have
nice, mate.
I have put 2-0 Celtic. So I'll just, because I've already wrote my scores down, I don't want to copy Brooklyn, but I've put 2-0 Celtic.
Right, firstly, the fact that we somehow managed to seamlessly transition for the gorilla conversation onto the Old Firm is almost impressive, mate. And to just the last thing to add, some of yous are off on Monday. Not all of us. Not all of us are off on Monday.
I only found
So
out yesterday that I'm off, so
aye.
still off. Enjoying it.
But mate, you're spot on, right? So even though the season's long gone, right? And realistically, at this stage, there's no difference between 17 points and 20, other than the fact that it's 3 points. But regardless of everything, mate, see, just to have those, like you're saying, those bragging rights for a day as a fan, it means that like, as a Rangers fan, you're not going to be going up to Celtic fans and how we bet you in Old Firm because all you turn around and go, well, we won the league. Does it really matter? But it just gives you that wee bit of, like, right, on that day when you're in the stadium, if the goals are going in, it does give you that wee bit of you. It sounds stupid, but you do kind of forget the league standings just
Yeah,
for those 90 minutes.
I agree.
You forget because regardless, there's still so much history, rivalry, everything else that comes with it. And it's like you're saying, it's the essence that it is a Sunday at 12, but whether you're on a supporters bus or you're watching it with your family, you're in the pub, you'll still probably finding it's just to meet up with your pals or do something because it's the Old Firm.
Yeah.
So aye, you're right enough. It means everything, even though it means nothing, which sounds ridiculous, but I think that's where we are with it. But what I will say, and I think you said this, you kind of pointed out something similar a while ago. Mate, there's part of me, and it sounds mental. The smallest part of me does not want to win on Sunday. Because no, like 1%, right? And what I mean by that is, see if we can walk away for a season winning 3 Old Firms out of 4 in the league, but still potentially finish 17 or 20 points behind. Mate, that's mental. That's I couldn't tell you probably the last time that a team won 3 out of the 4 Old Firms and didn't win the league.
I know, but that does just sum you up as a club at the minute. But that does sum Rangers up that, like, that is Rangers at the minute. Like, they just, you do go on these mad European runs, and then it's one of the ones. But I do get your point. I do get it. It's probably a bit more of a kick in the teeth.
Mate, that's what I mean. Like, obviously that's what I mean. There's like a 99.9% of me wants to win, but there is that 0.001 where you're just like, you would just be more annoyed. Well, me personally, mate, like, if we go ahead and win, obviously we buzz, like you're saying, when I wake up on the Monday, I'll probably be more annoyed to be like, what the fuck have we done with this season? Like,
So does that
we
mean
done the hard
does
part.
that mean you're going to predict? Does that mean you're going to predict Celtic win?
No.
No.
No, because like you're saying, it sums up Rangers in a club, and I think, to be honest as well, what my prediction is, though, is that, I think Forrest will score. I
Aye, that
think
was mine. That was mine. Forrest scores. That was
he's
mine.
still to score today, whether it's break the record or continues record, whatever one it is. And I can see he either score, like, I can see him scoring, but whether it's full open play or he's win a penalty and then gives him the penalty. But that my prediction is at Forrest scores, but I think Rangers win 2-1.
I think Forrest scores and Raskin will get sent off. That's what I think will happen.
Do you know, mate? I don't mind the red card shout for this game, and I can actually see that there's part of me that can, now you've mentioned it, I can see, unfortunately, a Diamande or a Raskin getting sent off, because after the comments of Ferguson and Kelly coming out saying the players aren't listening, I wonder how many of the players take that personally and think that it's targeted at them. And
I
if
think
that is the
Sinis will
case,
have a man of the match a performance as well. I think he'll play well.
who?
Sinisalo,
I
the
forgot
goalie.
he's your keeper. Mate, I
But no, I
completely forgot.
maybe they'll come out with it's like, okay, I'm going to fucking shut him up and tell him that I'm listening. He wants me to be aggressive. He wants me to be this. And Diamande was going to be my shout for a red card, but I'm like, I feel like that's too obvious. So I'll just go for Raskin.
Aye, I think, like you're saying, I think they're going to try and basically prove a point, which is a concern. I think what they're going to do is they'll try to prove a point. They'll do the whole hit someone early, first 2 or 3 minutes, we'll get a yellow card. Because they're so integral to the system, they won't get, you'll be at lunch from all over again.
Yeah.
Remember, exact same, I think it was
It was last year.
second.
It was the
Aye,
fight final game last year, Celtic went 2-0 up, and then it went 2-1, and then Runstrom got sent off.
Aye, because the league was still in contention at that point.
Aye.
Aye. I remember, fucking Juicy think you're getting back into the game, he goes and does that. And I think that was after as well that come on basically came out and said that the players weren't fighting enough, so
Because there was a penalty in the second half as well when O'Reilly missed it, actually. Jack Butland saved it, but aye, that happened. So aye, you go 2-1, I go 2-0. We both back Forest to score. We agree with the red card, whether it's Raskin or Diamande. So it'll be interesting to see.
who knows, Greg Taylor getting one?
I was actually going to write that there, but I don't know. I think he'll have a good game. I think he needs to have a good game.
Aye, I think if he doesn't have a good game, like I think the rumours of him being linked with Rangers is just lazy journalism. I think all it is like you said earlier on, he's far more Rangers fans. Rangers don't really have a left back. I know they've got EFD, Redvan's made a chocolate, but I think that's what it is. I think it's just, oh, he's got a contract, he's far more Rangers fans. In never in a million years is that going to happen. But
Yeah. Kuhn needs to have a good game as well. I mean,
you think he'll start?
Aye, I think Kuhn will start. Kuhn will start and Forrest will come on. I think there'll be a penalty for either side. I think what will happen is Rangers will miss a penalty and it'll be a cagey 1-0 the whole game, and Celtic will get one later on and Forrest will hit it. That's what I think will happen.
Mate, I think if we get a penalty and miss it, obviously Tavernier's a penalty taker. I don't think he'll be allowed to leave the stadium.
It'll be removed from the Hall of Fame anyway.
Mate, there'll be effigies hung for him, mate, honestly.
The other games, Hibs, Dundee United, I've gone 3-1 Hibs.
2-0 Hibs.
2-0 Hibs.
In fact, no. 2-1. Sam Dalby will score.
Okay. St Mirren, Aberdeen. I have gone one each.
2-1 Aberdeen. Sticking with 2-1s here.
Dundee United, Dundee, Motherwell. I have gone 2 each.
1 each.
I've just realised I can't catch you. No, I could if I get a score. No, I've went one separate result. Ross County, Hearts. I have gone 2-0 Ross County. I think Hearts are going to get beat.
Right, so this is what you can catch me because I've still got faith in Hearts. 3-1 Hearts.
3-1 Hearts, oft. Okay. St Johnstone, Killie. I don't think St Johnstone get relegated this weekend. I believe they will beat Killie 2-1.
Kelly 2-0. Hey, so there's plenty of chances to catch me. That's about 3 or 4 different results. And I don't think any of the same scorelines, so...
So to run through it, you've gone 2-1 Rangers against Celtic. I've gone 2-0 Celtic. Hibs 2, Dundee United 1. I've went 3-1 St Mirren, Aberdeen. You've gone 2-1 Aberdeen. And I have gone 1-1. Dundee, Motherwell, you've gone 1 each and I've gone 2-2. Ross County, Hearts, you've gone 3-1 Hearts. I've gone 2-0 County. And I've went 2-1 St Johnstone. And you've went 2-0 to Killie. So that's it. That was a very interesting. It's been my favourite show so far. So Friday night show for you all to enjoy, setting you off in your weekend, whether it's a long weekend or not a long weekend. I hope you all enjoyed, and thanks for coming and joining us again, Brooklyn. Just like you will be every week, but I'll always thank you anyway. Hope you all enjoyed and have a good weekend.
It's definitely worth saying just before we completely sign off, if anyone's not clicked off it already. Like we said, the season's come to an end, so if anyone has any ideas for what we can discuss or potentially do in kind of actual in person physically, then give us a message, kind of message the page or comment below, whatever it may be, because we're trying to look for, we've got a couple of ideas, but we're just trying to see if there's anything people would kind of desperately like to see.
We want to make the most of the summer, because right now we're saying we can't wait for the season to end, but we know 2 weeks after the season done we'll probably be a wee bit. So any ideas, let us know, or just message the Twitter or leave a comment on the on the YouTube videos and stuff. And aye, so a great show. And let us know as well below if 100 men would beat one brother. So have a good weekend and cheers.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.